was actually a West Texas boy raised out around west of Lubbock, where there aren't any trees but lots of sand. Went to a small high school, graduated with 17 other people, and I'm assuming that you're primarily interested here in my service in the Air Force.
Yes, sir.
After I got out, graduated from high school, there wasn't a whole lot to do. We were still somewhat in a depression, so I decided to join the Air Force. I'd always wanted to fly. We got within about 200 miles of Ceylon and ran out of gas and hit a ditch. We landed in a little squall. The airplane hit one wing a little before the other and sort of flipped and broke in two, and the back half of it went down immediately. We had one boy was killed and two had their backs broken. One whole face was torn off, pretty torn up pretty bad. But we did get out and get in lifeboats. But here again, some of the planning that they had done wasn't adequate. They whipped the subsistence kit where they had our water and emergency supplies and everything were in the back. But when the airplane broke down, broke in two, they went down with the first part. The front floated maybe 5 minutes, which gave us time to get out and get in the lifeboats. We spent that, we had a Gibson girl, they call it, which is an emergency radio that shaped kind of like an hourglass that you held between your legs and cranked it, put up a kite for an antenna. And I can't remember, I think it was you were supposed to do that 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after the hour or something like that. That's when the ships and other things would monitor that frequency just to pick up an SOS call. So we did that. Didn't get any results before 4 nights, so we spent the night in the pretty miserable night. They call them 5-man lifeboats, but the inside of the thing is about 4 by 6, and when you put 4 or 5 full-grown men in there, it's pretty crowded. There's no place to put your legs. But we did make it through. We couldn't lie down. We had to sit up. We did make it through the night. And we started cranking the next day. And about noon, I guess, or something like that, we heard a plane, and we looked up and saw him, and a single-engine plane was flying straight at us. And we thought, boy, we've been found. So we all start waving and everything. Well, he went right on over us and just kept going. What we think probably what happened was that as soon as we saw him, we quit cranking, and he probably lost the signal, and he didn't. It's pretty hard to see a raft on nothing but water. It's really, really hard to spot him, and he didn't see us. So anyway, when we spent another night in it. The next day, we started cranking our thing regularly, and British 4-engine Wellington bomber came over us, and he started circling. We knew then we'd been found. Actually, he sent us radio messages about the spotlight that the radio operator could read, and he told us that there was a destroyer on the way to get us about 4 hours away. He also dropped another life raft and some water and sleeping bags, which were really needed, and things like that. Well, anyway, after about 4 hours, the destroyer came and picked us up and brought us back to Ceylon. And I got something else good about that was that we got to go to, can't remember the name of the rest area now. Up in the Himalaya mountains, anyway, it was where they raised tea plantations, and then India was a colony of the British, and evidently this big hotel they'd built up there is primarily, I guess, for the aristocracy of Britain, because it was a really fancy place, and we got to stay up there for a couple of weeks. We could see, well, for one thing, the B-29 was pressurized, which is a much more comfortable airplane to be in normally. It was considerably faster, carried a considerably larger load. It could carry 20,000 pounds of bombs. The B-17 carried, what, 7 or 8, I guess, something like that. Cruise speed in it at 25,000 was about 300 miles an hour, which was considerably faster too. The indicated airspeed about 220 miles an hour, but when you're at 30,000 feet, it works out to about 300 miles an hour or something like that. Once they got past the problem with the engines overheating, it was a pretty good airplane, but it was a boogaroo until they did that. We had actually considerably more losses from engine fires and crashes and all that kind of stuff than we did from enemy action. Considerably more. We lost a lot of airplanes. And it was strictly, we were testing.
Weren't the guns aimed quite a bit differently?
I'm sorry?
Wasn't the gun aiming system?
Oh yes, they had actually computerized for its day. It's pretty crude by today's standards, but in its day, they had computerized for example, the side gunners. They were sitting with a blister in the side of the airplane, and the guns were on top of the plane, and the bottom of the plane had 4 50 caliber machine guns. And they actually controlled those guns remotely by moving their sight. The gun would move as they'd move their sight. And they had little knobs on the side that they could put in the wing span of a fighter plane, for example. You had to memorize all the fighter planes, how much wingspan they had, and you put that in this thing as you were aiming, and it would actually, in your temperature and your altitude, all put in there together. And actually, it would aim the gun for you. You just put the sight on it and push the button. It did the aiming for you. So they were much more accurate. And they had a switching system where they could switch the guns, for example, from one gunner to another if you had more planes coming in above. We didn't have too much trouble with fighter planes. We could, now they'd try to ram us, but as far as them trying to catch us or anything like that, when we got up 25,000 feet, we could outrun most of any of their fighters. Being pressurized was a big advantage. They had a tunnel. You had the front part of the airplane is pressurized. Well, you probably know that coming from Fifi, but then you have a tunnel you had to climb through, crawl through to get to the back pressurized part. And then the tail gunner had his own little compartment all the way at the back, and it was pressurized. So that was a big advantage, especially at high altitude. You didn't have to wear those electric suits and stuff. We wore them, but we didn't have to use them unless we had lost our pressurizing.
Fascinating.
I think I could sum it up by saying that I think you can envy me for the experiences I've had that a lot of people won't ever have. So I think I'm a very lucky person. I've had a really great life, great family, always had a lot of fun, and it was all worth it.